If you're tired of yo-yo manifesting, this show is for you. Welcome back to day 2. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Welcome to Dream Life season. I'm Kimberly Cox. I am your host. Today we are talking all about identity shifts and how just small little identity shifts at a time help to snowball into huge things. So, I am excited. Again, we are going to get right into this later on today. We are going to talk about just picking a couple of tasks, one or two tasks to get ahead on in the kitchen. And I'm going to give you some tips on that. We're going to talk about creating personas today, okay? Because I feel like when we can envision the person that we need to be, then we can start to find all of the little ways that we identify with that. And we will get into that in all three rings today. So, without further ado, let's jump into the Fantastic 15. All right, guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome in. Let's take a couple of deep grounding breaths first. So just in and out slowly. Okay, so for gratitude today, I want you to start to think in the last, maybe month or so. You might have to go back a little bit, but you shouldn't have to go back too much. If you're watching this, you shouldn't have to go back too much. And think about one or two, maybe, I mean, if you can think of more, obviously, keep going. But think about one or two times in the last month or so that you have caught yourself doing something out of character in a good way, right? Whether that was, okay, like I'm actually going to, get my steps in, or I'm going to take my personal time in the morning, or I'm going to react differently to something, right? There's all kinds of different ways, but when we acknowledge those things and we appreciate the person that we are turning into, more follows. And so, in true gratitude, we can start to manifest more of the same. So, let's see. Let me think of one that I can think of in particular. The biggest one right now is my relaxed attitude toward my mounting to do list, okay? If you know, you know. I'm in school, I homeschool. I run, obviously, this YouTube channel. I'm running like, not a challenge, we're calling it an experiment on the side. I have other stuff going on and home and all of that stuff, right? And so it is sometimes really hard for me to stay grounded or to stay calm. And sometimes it used to be that I would kind of jump into this thing where I would just not do stuff, but not do it from a place of being afraid of doing it, right? Not doing it from a place of being afraid, from a place of being afraid, from a place of feeling like, well, if I just don't do anything, it's better than, whatever, right? And that's not cool. And so I took, and you guys will probably hear about this for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I took some time off during the holidays, and I just kind of was, right? I was just kind of being. Whatever the day brought, it brought. If I needed to go somewhere, we went somewhere. If we didn't, we didn't. And I just kind of did things that felt right. And everything got done, and we were still okay. And I started to realize that sometimes I put more pressure on myself because I'm afraid that I'm not going to complete something, right? but that's not who I am anymore. The version of myself now is the version who finds the reasons why in things, right? And will use that reason to ground myself into doing what I need to do to get stuff done. This is all ties into identity shift. We'll talk about this in a minute, but right now I just want you guys to write it down. If you have a notebook, write it in your notebook, because the act of actually writing it somewhere where you're going to be able to see it is going to help tremendously. Okay, type it in the comments. Let us know what you're proud of, right? What you are grateful to yourself that you have accomplished, that you have changed that pattern. Okay, so drop that. We are going to do a little bit of a different grounding technique today. We're going to do some deep breathing. I'm going to put a graphic up on the screen. You guys are in no way, shape, or form have to follow it. I just gave you guys a breathe in, breathe out kind of thing, but you don't have to follow it, right? If you're listening, you're driving, or you're, doing whatever, just, take a minute and breathe with this clip. And then we will come back on the other side and we'll do some inspiration. Okay, now that we are more centered and more grounded, more connected, I want to talk about one of the probably my favorite realization in everything. And I don't always think about it, and sometimes I still find myself falling for this whole thing. But when I do remember it, it can like almost instantly shift my perception of things. That's how strong this is. Okay. So when you think of your manifestation techniques, right? And one of the things that we are taught is that, like, it's like a radio station, right? If you want $1 million, you have to tune in to the radio station, quote unquote, right? That is $1 million radio station. You can't get there from the, you know, like I make 30,000 a year radio station, right? You have to level up to that other radio station. You have to bring your vibration up so you can feel that. So I think a lot of times, especially again as neurodivergents, we come through this experience. And sometimes we get really proud of ourselves and we're like, I've got it, I'm gonna do this thing. And we like get overly excited and we start like, and it's not that we're actually overly excited, okay? But we feel like it after a little bit, because then we start to notice other people are leveling up faster. Other people have more. Other people, and I think what you have to be in the right frame of mind for this, right? But when you truly think about it, if we can't tune in to a radio station that has that frequency, if we're tuned into this other one, then what is it when we start seeing all these people in our experience popping up, doing good, doing amazing, like being successful? It's because we're starting to tune our radio station to that radio station. It's because we're starting to become that vibration. And I tell people all the time, don't get jealous, celebrate because it's coming for you. It's coming for you. It wants to be in your experience. That is the reason why you are feeling these things. That is the reason why you have this, experience where you're starting to see this everywhere, right? And when we start to really like kick into that, right? We lock into, okay, if I can see it, that means I'm in that vibration. We're going to start to slowly change our way of seeing things. Our perception is going to change to where we suddenly can see opportunity where we missed it before. We suddenly can be grateful for things where before it felt like the heavy stuff was too much and we couldn't even be grateful for what we had. And it starts to slowly work. And the more we put in, and that doesn't mean you have to like do more work, right? But you have to be aware and you have to allow yourself, like, okay, I've had moments where I'm like, okay, like I thought we would be in Florida by now. And I still keep seeing Florida stuff. And I still keep seeing people moving. And I still keep seeing people winning the lottery and different things like that. And I'm like, all right, like I'm still tuned in. I could get jealous. I could get mad. I could get frustrated. I could say, okay, it's just not going to happen. But I don't. And I have had so many realizations about the move that have kept me from making mistakes. And I don't necessarily know that they would be mistakes, but it would be like, it's like taking longer to get somewhere, right? Because you're stopping at all these little places along the way instead of just taking the direct leap to where you know you want to be. And so in that moment, I'm like, I already know now what I want. I already know, but I didn't back then because I was trying to just whatever we could find, right? It was like I was in a hurry. And so I want you guys to just really consider that when you start to see other people succeeding, it means you are in that vibration where you're allowed to see it. You are in that same vibration where it's yours, it's coming to you next. So don't get jealous, get excited. Don't get jealous, pay attention. If we pay attention to the habits, to what these people are doing, not to their strategy, not to, how they create content or how they run business, to their habits, to their overall aura, right? You can tell when somebody is a happy person and doing good and doing all the good things, right? Or when somebody is generally like a miserable person or a scared person, where are they on that scale? What kinds of things can you learn from them that you can start slowly implementing for yourself? All right, guys, that is today's fantastic 15. We are going to get into moving your body here next. Welcome to the Move Your Body segment. Again, I'm going to preface this by saying I am not a fitness instructor or a fitness trainer at all. I am just a neurodivergent creator who knows the importance of doing some stretching and some moving your body every morning to get yourself going. Okay? So, this morning we're going to do much the same as we did yesterday. We're going to do some stretches. And yeah, so I just want you to reach all the way up as high as you can. Wiggle your fingers and then bring them down. Okay, and again. All right, now we're going to do some sideways stretches over our head there like this. And then the other side. All right, and again, the other side. And the other side. Okay, let's do some ankle rolls. So just roll your ankles. Um, just roll your ankles a little bit one way, and then we're gonna roll them a little bit the other way. Okay, we're gonna make a point with our toes and stretch, and then relax, and then stretch, and then relax. Okay, neck rolls. Do about 5 one way, and then 5 the other way. All right, and then we're gonna shake it out. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. All right, guys, we are hopping into our In the Kitchen segment next. Welcome back to the In the Kitchen segment. This is Tuesday, and I'm really excited because I want to talk about the identity shift. We're talking about identity shift through this whole episode. And so I think sometimes we want to have certain habits. We want to maybe we want to eat healthier, or maybe we want to meal plan. Maybe we want to meal prep, maybe, we want to have healthier food for our kids, right? There's all these different things that, like, when they say if you could do anything and you wouldn't fail, like, what would your life look like, right? And I think a lot of us, like, health is something that's important. It's just difficult. And there's a lot of hurdles usually in our way. And so we're going to start to take some of those hurdles away by just making some really easy choices in these first few weeks of the year. Okay. Now, I know that we watch a lot of creators probably in this, in the social media space. And they're like, oh, healthy, new year, new you. Let's get you healthy. Here's like 20 recipes that you can do this month to, lose weight or whatever, all these different things, right? And I think a lot of times we're like, ooh, that looks good. Ooh, that looks good. Ooh, that looks good. And we jump all over these things, whether that's meal prepping, whether that's meal planning, whether that's grocery shopping. I know for the longest time I wanted to do like a once a month grocery shop, right? I do not like going to grocery stores. I do not like it at all. So we do a lot of delivery, but I also will go in when we have to, but I go in a lot more than I'd like to sometimes. And so that like idea of like at least bi-weekly, right? Like go into the grocery store once every 2 weeks. And then if you run out of something, you can add it to the list and eventually like put in another delivery order for it or whatever. And in a perfect world, that is what I would love to do because I feel like grocery stores are one of those places where it's just a lot of you have to have a lot of patience, right? It's a lot of waiting, it's a lot of people not having patience, it's a lot of all that stuff, and it just does not feel good for me to go into those places. So I want us to, instead of going, okay, I want to, and I'm giving you my example, okay, but you make up your own, you find your own. Instead of going, okay, I want to do a bi-weekly like grocery trip, right? I want to shop every 2 weeks. I need to find the little steps to get there. Okay. So, one of the things that I can do very easily is to keep a food diary. What are the things that my kids ate, that I ate? Like, what are the things that in the course of a week we go through. Okay. And also, a side note on that same paper are what are the things that like we wanted to have more of that we didn't, right? We ran out of, or, the kids were like, oh, I really wish I would have more of this or something. Because having a little bit extra just means that eventually, and especially, I don't know if your kids are like mine, but if your kids are like mine, when you're meal prepping or meal planning, they want kind of comfort meals a lot of the times until they don't. And then they change, and then it becomes a different comfort meal, but they want kind of the same things, right? And so I think sometimes as a mom, we're like, oh, well, we got to vary their diet and we have to do all these things. But if essentially they're just going to go back and end up doing those, eating those same foods, or eating something similar to those same foods, like, you can choose, if you wish, to not make that an argument and to just say, okay, if you guys want chicken nuggets for lunch every day this week, then I will make sure that we have enough chicken nuggets for lunch every day this week. If we want pizzas, we want pizza. Are we tired of pizza? Then we need to change it up and do something different. But we can find those little, like, write down those things. And then when I'm making my shopping list, I can look at that and go, okay, we went through 3 packages of lunch meat because the kids were eating sandwiches for breakfast and lunch. So instead of trying to force them to eat something that they don't want or whatever, I can just save all the hassle and buy those again. And then, okay, this is what you get. And then if you're wanting to vary things, I would vary sides. That's another place where I feel like if you're going to vary things, varying the side dishes, the side items like for lunch, the side dishes at dinner, right? That gives them some variety that they can pull in, but also keeps the core items the same. And if you have neurodivergent kids, that can be a lifesaver. So drop in the comments for me, what is your 1 or 2 things that you are going to start doing so that we can eventually kind of morph into this person who does the big things that we want to do, right? So like I said, one of mine is keeping that food diary of what we're eating every day. And another one is going to be compiling recipes. Maybe get a Pinterest board for this. That can make it really easy, right? But compiling recipes that sound very similar to things that we already eat on the regular. That way, I can use those and I can try them, and we can have variations of the same thing, and it's a little different, and it might taste a little different, or it might be a little easier to create or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's probably gonna be, close to a hit, if not a hit. And it gives me another option to put into my rotation. So, those are the 2 things I'm doing for the kitchen. What are your 2 things? Drop it in the comments below. And let's get on to our rings. All right, guys, welcome back to the first ring. We are talking about home and family, and I have a fun one for you, okay? So, we're going to do this in the next ring for ourselves, but I'm going to give you guys some tips to make it easier for you to do this with your kids. And you might actually want to do this for yourself too, okay? So, when we talk about like having an identity shift and going into becoming the identity of the person that you want to be, that can be a very difficult concept for kids to understand, okay? And I am not telling you that you need to run out and make your 5-year-old be, a different identity. Obviously, if they are young, they are their identity. You need to keep that going, right? I will give you some tips here in a minute for how to kind of relax on that one. For your older kids, my kids are tweens and teens, right? I have a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old. And they have developed a lot of ideas, um, a lot of their personality from other people and what they think is right, and friends and different things like that. So I think sometimes it is important to, first of all, take a step back as mom, okay? And pay attention to where your kids are doing it right, okay? Because we don't want to mess with where they're doing it right. We're not trying to shape anything, we are trying to help them develop on their own. So, the areas your kids are getting it right in, praise them, overly praise them, right? Um, Remind them how, grown up they're being and how, cool they're being and all those things. On the areas where maybe they're starting to pick up on other people's perceptions, other people's ideas, and maybe you're just like, I don't feel like this is right. I know my kid, I know they wouldn't normally be this way, but like they've had this experience or whatever, and so now they are. I want you to kind of have them do a exercise. And the exercise is, I want you to look through some famous people and some people that we know, right? Maybe family, friends, whatever. And I want you to kind of tell me like where you see people are good people. People are, and where you see people are maybe not that they're not good, but they're like, where are your judgments at, right? Where are the people that you're like, okay, they are like to this or they are to that? And you're not telling them what to say in all of this, right? You are just asking them. So when you think of, so and so, what are your general, thoughts about them? Do you think they're, are they a good person and a role model? Are they somebody that maybe their heart's in the right place, but they wouldn't necessarily be a role model, right? And the older they are, the more they're going to understand this, because I want you to start being able to point out to them where the people are who have the qualities that they're looking for. Because, okay, what we want and what we don't want gets mirrored to us all the time, okay? I tell this to people, and this is one of the hardest lessons I've ever had to learn. And I learned it way too late, like 2 weeks ago, probably, maybe a month. Um, and that is the fact that when, there's a lot of people in my life that I have held on to for a long time because I'm like, they have so much potential. They have so much potential. And the truth is, they were mirroring back to me my own potential. And it's not that they don't have potential, it is we are a potential match, right? Like my potential and their potential match because I'm mirroring my potential to them. Like, it's kind of a back and forth, right? But I think a lot of times, if a person isn't acting on that potential, we want to try to hold off and we want to try to wait and we want to try to like maneuver it or hope or whatever. And I'm not saying don't, I'm saying you have to live for yourself and you have to realize what the potential is, right? And so when we can help our kids kind of distinguish that, like, okay, I see this in this person. Okay, well, where do you see that in your own life? Where do you see that in your own life? Where do you act like that person? And then we can start to kind of bolster, and maybe they're like, well, I don't really see it in myself. And then you can go one of two ways with that, right? If you see it, you can obviously bring that up. Well, I see it when you're with your sister or when you're helping a friend or, whatever. And if not, then you can, kind of go, okay, is this something that you want? Because how would you become that person if that's something that you want in your life? How do we work on that? And it's kind of helping them to shape their own like destiny around this thing. We're not telling them what to do or how to act or what to choose, right? We're kind of trying to see through their eyes in a way, going, well, what is important to you? What are some qualities that you look at in other people and you're like, I love that, or I hang out with this person for this reason? And you can do that in celebrities too, because that adds a different layer to it. Most of our friends are not millionaires or not popular or famous. And so when we kind of add that extra layer in, it's like, okay, where is a famous person considered? Like, where are they doing it right? Where are some things that you could kind of adapt in your own life? And as we start to show them this, and they're the ones taking the reins and telling you how they feel and stuff, it becomes less of a demand avoidant problem and more of a, they start to make the connections themselves. They start to realize things. And as they start to realize things, they like have these moments where it's like, no, like this is why I like this, and I can do X, Y, and Z to be more like, to have this quality more in my own life. And then we can start morphing it more into, okay, how do you make it your brand? How do you make it your spin on this quality, right? But as we're first getting them in, they need to realize, they need to, that's why we have people around us, so that we can see we are constantly sifting through the good and the bad, right? The good and the bad. And when I say bad, like, not everything that we think of as bad is bad. In fact, most things are just things, they're just neutral. They're bad because they're not what we want. They're bad because we've either had an experience with them or we want something different. And so when we sift through what we don't want and we single out what we do want, then we can start doubling down on that identity shift. And it's simple things, right? So maybe your kid has a friend who is always like talking to people and being super sweet and always polite and all of that, right? They're outgoing and they're generous and they kind of share their light and their joy with other people. And so then you can go, okay, well, where do you see that in your own life? Maybe you're not so outgoing that you share it with everybody, but you share it with your family. You share it with me when you're excited about something. You share it with your brother or your sister or your friends, right? So notice those things. And then as you're noticing those things, like be grateful for them and look for more of it, because once we notice things, more follows. Our brain looks for that, like, okay, this is what we're doing now. I'm going to give you more evidence of this. So, in closing, take some time in the next week or so and just have a chit chat with your child, right? If they're little and you see all of these good qualities, right? Just pull them aside and shower them with compliments. Let them know, I see how you act with with your little sibling. I see how you helped that person in the grocery store, or I see how you are respectful to the people when we're at the store or when we're here or there or whatever, and praise those things so that they feel good about them and then they want to do them more, right? If they are older and they're already teetering on that edge of like kind of not knowing, right, Find out what it is. Be curious, be open. Sometimes our kids have things that even we're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this, right? Like maybe one of your kids' values is freedom. Like I value my friends who like get to go do things and don't have to check in every 10 minutes and don't have to be with mom and dad all the time and stuff. And you're like, okay, that's a reflection on me. Like, where am I holding on too much? Where can I let go of the reins a little bit and slowly let them have more freedom, right? And so we can do these things and just, I mean, use your own intuition as to what things are appropriate or what things are not, obviously. I would not get into the fight over the things that are inappropriate. I would simply put more attention on the things that are, unless you're actually having a problem with the things that are inappropriate. At that time, I would have, a conversation with the child, and then eventually, if you have to, maybe get a therapist involved or something like that. Um, but at the very beginnings of these things, if we kind of allow them to have that flexibility, allow them to have that freedom to kind of choose, and then we can kind of say, okay, this is a good thing to choose. So we're going to keep letting you choose this. And this is not the greatest thing to choose. So let's find a different thing that we can choose, right? And not that you're saying that the child is wrong, right? You're just simply saying we're not going to focus on this because where you put your focus, the energy around that grows. So you want it to focus and grow in the best ways possible. Drop in the comments, um, like, I'm trying to think of what I can do. Like, drop in the comments. Um, I'll tell you what, drop in the comments whether you have a child, like, elementary school, or whether you have a tween or teen, or if you have both. Drop that in the comments. Let us know. And then we can check back in the comments. We can have these conversations round and round about how this went. I think this is so exciting because I think this is the best time of the year to start doing these things because we're in that frame of mind to do it. And as we're doing more of it, our kids are going to see us doing more of it. And then we're helping them to do it. And it kind of all builds and the energy kind of just grows. Alrighty. We are going to head over to the personal ring, the self ring. Catch you over there. All right, welcome back to the center ring, all about self. So, we just got done talking about how to help our kids kind of find their values, kind of find the people that, like kind of what they want to be, and then to help them see where they are that person in their life now, right? And how they can grow that and keep doing that more and more. So now we are going to talk about who you want to be, okay? Now, I know a lot of us have this idealized version where we're always on time and we're organized and everyone can count on us and blah, blah, blah. But I want you to think more about who you want to be for yourself. Because this is the key. We are talking way more about making the shifts for ourselves, making the shifts to be the kind of person that we want to be in life, the kind of person that can help us become more and more of what we want, right? And I love when I'm talking to people who have been around the block in the manifestation world, who have tried a lot of the tricks, have tried a lot of the things, and then they kind of realize that a lot of the things that they wanted, they don't really want. They want to have something similar. They want to have freedom. Like a lot of times, I can hear people saying, well, I don't, I want $1 million. And then all of a sudden you realize, okay, $1 million comes with $1 million worth of responsibilities and decisions and things like that. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have $1 million. It means that you need to decide what it is that you want and what it is you're willing to grow for, right? So maybe the idea is not that I want $1 million, but I want a nice home that's paid off that has all of these XYZ things in it. I want a job that I love or a business that I love that supports us. I want freedom to go places, right? And so we start making these lists of all these things that we want. But the truth is, we're never going to get the things that we want until we become the version of ourselves that is ready for them, okay? Now, that doesn't mean you have to have proven and whatever. Like, we get a lot of stuff handed to us from time to time, right? Where it's like, let's see, can you handle this? And sometimes we do good and sometimes we mess it up, right? That's life. We're humans. That's what life is about. But when you are finally in the awareness of realizing that in order to have this thing and keep this vibration, keep this whole thing going, you have to be able to handle that. You have to be able to keep up with that. And I think that's where there's a little bit of a like a stall, okay? Because I think once we realize that, especially as neurodivergents, we let the former identity, the things that people have said about us, the way that we've acted before, all of those things, we let them scare us into going backwards. Well, yeah, I would love to be able to be the kind of person who posts daily on things and gets, the views because they're posting daily. But that sounds like an awfully big responsibility, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. And I think I'm just not going to. Okay, I'm going to give you a page out of my book right now. And I've told you I'm going to be kind of layering this story in because it feels so aligned in this whole thing. And I know the right people are going to see this. So, first of all, I've been telling you guys, I told you guys yesterday, I was talking to you guys about it last week in the mini episodes. I took some time off and I wasn't planning on doing that. In fact, I had this whole like schedule that I was going to get all of this stuff done and all of that stuff done. And then I was going to be able to take some time off. And we just took time off anyway. That's what happened. It happened that way. And at first, I was kind of hard on myself, okay? For like, the first, I don't know if I'd say the first few hours, maybe the first day or so probably was a little bit rough because I'm so used to pushing myself. I'm so used to, okay, like we have to do this. And I know you don't necessarily feel like it, but it's your job and you have to do it. And there's a time and a place for us to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, okay? But you ultimately know if you are feeling like amazing and you're not feeling bad and you're like, the only reason why I'm doing this is because I said I was going to do this to myself and I can still do the other stuff later and whatever. Like, you know the difference of when you're running from something or you don't want to let somebody down. So you're, either pushing too hard or like giving up on it. And when it's just like, I legit need this. I legit need this time. My family needs this time. Like, this is where we're at right now. And so I took that time off and slowly kind of climbed myself back out, popped my head around a little bit, posted a few things on YouTube, obviously. I did. We are now on yesterday was 8, so today's day 9 straight YouTube videos. That will stop on Friday because I'm taking the weekend off. But I did the moonlight ceremony last Saturday, and then I did my live on Sunday about the moonlight creator program or creator experience. experiment. Goodness. It's been called like 7 different things already. But I did all that and then jumped right into Dream Life season, but that all felt aligned. I wanted to do that. I felt okay to do that. Saturday, I went live talking, or no, it was Saturday I did the ritual. And then Sunday I went live and did the intro to the creator experiment. And then I did Dream Life season episode 1, and I did 2 of the deep dives. I did the one that posted yesterday and then one that's going to drop tomorrow. And I got all that done in one day and I felt good about it. But I wanted to get like 3 more videos done. But I had like technical problems and I had to run an errand real fast and there was all these things. And the version of myself from like 2 months ago would have been like maybe not freaking out, but definitely talking to myself. You've got this. We can do this. We can go back. We can do more. And then once I got like everything done that needed to be done, I would have been like, okay, like we can do more still. Come on, let's go. And I would have been pushing myself when that wasn't necessary. And the reason it wasn't necessary was because today I was taking my time, watching some YouTube, watching some creators, happened to come across a new creator that I'd never seen before, watched her video, and it was all about identity shifts. Hello, welcome to confirmation. So I've watched myself evolve from this person who used to be so scared and trying to get everything done on time and have a timeline for everything and whatever, to like, this is being recorded on Monday night. It is after 10 o'clock on Monday night. This has to be up by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I still have to edit. It's fine. I have one more segment after this and the closing, and I have the flow down pretty good for putting everything in. And we make it happen, right? And like, there's this moment in myself where I'm like, that is so much growth. And as I acknowledge that, then I see more and more ways where I'm doing it in other areas too, right? Like, I didn't freak out about dinner. We got dinner finally, and it's whatever. And I still had some that I can save for tomorrow. And like, if I would have made that at 7 o'clock, we probably would have ate at 7 o'clock and then ate again at 10 or 11. And the roast that I just made would be gone. But because I made it later, everybody ate a little bit later. We've got some in the fridge. And, it's like all of these little things that I can see where I'm just following my own intuition, right? And so I want you guys to really think about like where you want to be, but also who you want to be, right? Because maybe you want something, but you don't want at all to be the person who you'd have to be to have that thing. And then you need to ask yourself, who do you want to be? And what types of things does that kind of person that you are aspiring to be, what do they want? What do they like, right? And so as we're like doing these things, then like we can actually shift what we want to a place where maybe we realize this is another story. I'm gonna give you guys another story. I know this, I said this was gonna be a short episode, and I feel like I've been long-winded everywhere else. But I felt really bad because I felt like I was not doing enough for my daughter for her birthday. Her birthday is the 30th of December. We kind of went out on a limb for Christmas on stuff, and I still got her a few things, but it wasn't nearly what I wanted to, and I kind of felt bad at first. And, usually I try to do something. We try to go somewhere like a small little overnight for a night or two trip, and like we weren't able to do that yet, and there were all these things. And it was the afternoon, so she ended up having friends spend the night before, which was not my plan, My plan was for them to wait until her birthday and then spend the night on her birthday, and then maybe even keep them another night if their mom would let them, and have them on New Year's Eve too. And they ended up coming the night before, and they did presents then, and we had pizza and all that kind of stuff, and then they went to sleep. And when they woke up in the morning, like, the friend helped me bake the birthday cake, like, we made pancakes. It was a special day. Wasn't the day I necessarily wanted at first, but it was maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm sitting there with my friend, and the kids, all my two kids were getting along. And then the friend and the friend's sister that came with were all getting along. And they were laughing and screaming and having the best time. And I kept peeking my head in there, and I'm like, "You guys having a good time?" And all four of them were like, "Yeah." And it hit me like right between the eyes, right? Like, if you had your way, she would have missed out on this experience. Like, this is what it's about, is celebrating friendship, celebrating her, like having those moments. And then after they went home, I kind of pulled her aside and I said, "I know this wasn't, like, the best birthday in the world or anything like that." I said, "But you had fun, right?" And she's like, "It was a really good birthday, Mom. Like, we had so much fun and all of this and whatever." And I'm just like, my 12-year-old gets it. My 12-year-old is understanding that sometimes we want things like on the outside because they look nice, and I want to own this. But then, like, there are more things that are more important, that are more special, that mean more, that we really want. And not that we can't have the other things too, right? Sometimes they require us to be a version of ourselves that we are not. And in that case, we need to gradually work up to that, right? But it's like, when we start to look at where we're at and what we have and the things that we have to be grateful for, and then we start to layer in how much we've changed over, like, even think back a year ago. How much has changed from now to last January, right? And be grateful and notice all those little shifts. And as you notice all those little shifts, those are proving to your brain that you are changing and becoming that identity that you want to be, in order to hold the success, hold the vibration, hold the love, hold all of that stuff that you want. So, I want you to drop in the comments, just give me one or two things that you have noticed that are different from where you were last year this time. The beginning of last January, you were whatever, and now you are different in what ways? I think for me, a lot of the ways that I have changed, obviously, I am kind of becoming more of this relaxed person. I'm letting go of a lot of the fear and a lot of the stress and a lot of all of that. And I'm starting to really recognize where things are happening that I want. And I'm celebrating them more, and I'm getting more excited for them. And I'm seeing it happen more and more because of that. All right, guys, we are going to jump into the final ring and segment of today's episode right now. Welcome to the third and final segment in our 3 segment part of this episode. We are talking about your passion project, your business, your volunteering, whatever that is. And I want to talk a little bit about and I'm going to call it your audience persona, okay? So if you're a creative, which you probably are because you're watching this, then these are the people who are your people, who are watching you, who want to know more about you, who enjoy your content. the people you are creating your content for who want to consume it. Notice I said the people you are creating your content for who want to consume it. Because sometimes we get it mixed up when we start creating for people that we think would want this kind of content, and those people really don't. And so then we have to like either change the content or change the audience, one of the two, right? So I want to kind of talk about the teeter totter of that, okay? So I said you either have to change the audience or you have to change the content, one of the two, right? And so I think that there is a virtue in doing both, okay? I think there's positives in doing both, but you have to do it with intention. And so this is how I'm going to say it. There are a lot of times, and I have a group of people in my life right now who we are all going through very similar things. And the similar part of this is we are growing, we are outgrowing our old audience, okay? So we don't want to necessarily make the same content. We don't necessarily resonate anymore with the audience that we used to have. However, it is difficult for us to be on that level to make the kind of content for the people that we resonate with. We don't have as much experience in that. We don't feel like we have enough of a story to actually go out and create that content. And I think this happens all the time when we go through shifts. As we're shifting and we're growing, a lot of times you hear people say that you create products, services, content, whatever, for people. You only have to be a step or two ahead of those people. But if you start to climb a little bit too high, then you either have to bring your vibration down a little bit in order to still resonate with those people, or those people have to raise their vibration to fully appreciate the content that you are creating. So, this is evident when you start to, okay, I'm going to give you another story. This is like the story episode here. When I was in some of my network marketing companies, okay, and I was always enamored with whoever the top earners were, right? I was like, I want to be just like them. I want to do all these things until like it came down to what I actually had to do, okay? And then there was a part of me that wanted to do it. It sounded like a good idea. It felt like it was going to be a good idea. But a lot of times I would let people, other people, my circumstances, the way I felt about things, whatever the case was, get in the way and make me feel some type of way. Okay. I'm going to double layer this. All right. I am sitting creating these episodes in my bathroom. I started back in November saying that I was going to post no matter what. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to like give up on the posting. I'm going to like, if I have to post from my bathroom every day, then that's where I'm going to be at. So, fast forward from November to now, I have a million reasons why I could just totally not create episodes right now, right? I have a million reasons why I could force myself to batch a bunch of episodes when I have what I call free time to do so. But I think my lesson, and this is one of the reasons why, if you've been watching this whole episode, you've kind of watched this evolve, where I've been talking about how, like, I've been slower lately and it's okay. And I'm not stressed about it. And I'm feeling okay about the fact that, I have like, I don't know, 7 hours before this is supposed to be like published and I'm still recording it. But it doesn't feel hard and it doesn't feel wrong and it doesn't feel bad. In fact, what it feels like is okay, like I can do this because I have set a like template in the way that I'm doing things to make it easy to just drag and drop the videos in, add the transitions, and call it a day. So it does make it easier for me to do that. However, there's still that part of you that kind of, there's a part of me that kind of wants to relax, right? Instead of going right up to the wire. But there's also a part of me that knows that, like, this is divinely guided at this moment. And I'm doing this way because I'm supposed to do it. I was supposed to see the video that I saw earlier about identity shifts and stuff for confirmation so that I would get excited. That would light the fire under my rear end to be like, okay, this is the perfect time to do that. So, when we're in that space, right, where we feel like, okay, the content that I used to create is just, it's not me anymore. And it's really difficult for it to come out like any way, like authentic. But the content that I want to create, I feel like an imposter doing so, right? And that's where you have to make these subtle identity shifts, okay? You can still kind of do some of that content that you're used to doing because it's kind of a space filler, if you will. It's proving that you're not giving up, it's being consistent. But you can also throw in some spaces where you're like, okay, here's a lesson that I learned that I have some proof behind, right? I mean, today is a really good example. Like, I didn't know that I was going to have the encounter with that video and be able to be in this space where I could tell you, like, I had double confirmation that this is the episode that's supposed to drop tomorrow. So, like, I didn't know that ahead of time, but I'm starting to really lean into one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time, if it needs to be. Just be in the moment and be grateful that you have that moment. And as you're moving forward, you'll start to see more and more evidence that you are going down the right path, that you're doing what you're supposed to do, right? So, and then we have to kind of go with our feelings, right? If you feel good about something, then you kind of go that way. If you don't feel good about it, then you need to ask yourself some questions. Do you not feel good about it because someone else told you not to feel good about it? Or do you not feel good about it because genuinely it's not meant for you and you still want it? So those are more hard questions that, I'm giving that to you now. If you're ambitious and you want to go journal on all that, go for it. We will get to that. I promise you, we will get to that. But it is such an exciting space for us to be in right now because we have this connection like across like the entire world, basically, where we can find those people who are in our same vibration, who are in our same experience. And yeah, if you're in a bad vibration, if you're in a vibration that does not feel good, you can find evidence for that. You can find people that will commiserate with you and do those things, right? But you can also find people who see the good, who see the positive, who are willing to encourage you and work with you and back you and support you. And so that is what Dream Life season is all about. It's about one, building community, two, making all of those little shifts a little bit at a time in a way that is safe for our nervous system, that doesn't feel harsh, that doesn't feel bad. It's giving you guys an everyday, Monday through Friday, like guaranteed, come in, have some gratitude, do some type of meditation or something, and then we work into some inspiration before we start hitting some practical stuff. And if you're tuning into that, you're getting that automatically. That's automatically being pumped into your ears, pumped into your brain every morning, and all you have to do is show up. Okay. And that was the reason I created this. I created this for two different opposites. One is that person who just really, really is excited and wants to like run out there and do the things and live their best life, but feels like they're either it's too much or they're not exactly where they need to be yet, and kind of slows down and loses momentum and tapers off. But like making the small, tiny shifts helps a ton. It helps because it makes it sustainable. We are getting into a habit before we add too many more. And then once we get into that habit and we add more, we get that into a habit and then we add more and we create these habits that then become easier. Even if we fall off the wagon for a minute, we can more easily jump back in, right? Because they're habits. So it's kind of like you'll pick it back up. You'll remember the feeling of when you did it and how good you felt doing it, right? And then the other side is for the people who are burned out. They are just done. They want all of this stuff. They know that they need the positivity, that they need to be able to look at, the good things. But sometimes we just have such a problem with that. We're in a season where it just feels difficult. And if all you can do is hit play on this, video and watch it and just let the words wash through you, you are helping to train your brain to look for the better, to look for evidence that you are doing better, to do all those things. And as you're doing that, you're going to start to feel the shift emotionally, mentally. You're going to start to see more opportunities or feel more grateful for things, right? And that's the reason I'm creating this, okay? I'm creating this for a two-sided audience. And I know that there is value for this in other people. I know that there will be people who don't fit that description who will watch this. And I know that everybody who fits that description won't watch this. I just have to create and let it go. Create with the intention that the right people are going to see this at the right time. And we're going to start building this community that is just on fire for making those tiny little changes and continuing day after day. And if you fall off the wagon, you get back on and you keep going, because we're all human. So that means we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to fall off the wagon sometimes. But just being in that space allows us to be able to grow more, to see more, for our brain to kind of pick up more on the all the little things that we just kind of glance over in our day, right? All right. So, when it comes to whatever your passion project is, whether that's volunteering, creating a business, whether that's your work, right? What are one or two ways that you want to show up for that particular category of your life, for that particular area in your life? Okay. I know we didn't really talk about that, but I think that's logically the next step, is how do you want to show up? And as you start to think about how you want to show up, that's going to show you. Maybe you don't want to show up. Maybe you don't want to show up at all. Maybe your 9 to 5 is draining you and you're like, I don't want to show up ever again. Well, then that shows you, that's that mirror to you that says, okay, you don't feel good here. We can figure out a plan B, but then we also have to do the work to figure out why you don't feel good. And can we tweak things? And can we start to see a way why, okay, this is a lesson that I'm learning. This is, maybe the lesson is to recognize when you're done with something, when something is no longer a good fit, because as we outgrow things, a lot of times, especially as neurodivergent, compassionate, empathetic people, it can feel like you are just like hurting someone so badly if you're no longer like in resonance with them. And I think sometimes we almost pull ourselves back just so we don't hurt people and abandon people. And the problem is that one, they need to be where they're at for a reason. They will find other people. You need to be growing in the way you need to be growing. And so allowing that to like happen even when it's hard, even when it feels painful, right? Even when it feels like, how in the world could I let these people go? But you're starting to grow and you're starting to find other people that resonate with you. And again, another layer of what Dream Life season is, guys. So, how do we want to show up in this area of our life moving forward? Drop one or two in the comments and let's close out this episode. I said wow, 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 wow yesterday. I feel it even more in the depths of my soul right now. The amount of confirmation, the amount of words that have come out of my mouth that I did not plan on saying, but were totally exactly what needed to come out. I am so grateful for you all on this journey with me. I am so excited to start building this community, to have this support, to start cheering each other on, to start, really becoming each other's best cheerleader. We're going to start making like all of us together collectively. you know, they say that you are the sum of the five people you hang out with the most. We are a force to be reckoned with when it comes to this collective. Y'all are amazing. I can feel your energy and just like the fact that y'all are ready to go. You guys are ready to do this. So again, this has been episode two of Dream Life season, and it's already blowing my mind. You guys are awesome. I am so grateful that you came here, that you watched. Leave leave it in the comments if whatever takeaways you got out of this. Right? I can't even talk right now. I am so blown away by everything, guys. Amazing things are going to happen in 2026. And this morning show is going to be one of those places where the people who are watching are going to make so many strides, are going to have so much success, are going to be changing so many lives themselves. And I am so excited to see the ripple effect, the snowball of what this turns into. All right, guys, I'm Kimberly Cox. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a good day.